This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
A very good morning to everyone here from and beyond Punda Private Game Reserve. Look at this beautiful sunrise we have this morning with some beautiful mist down in the valleys below. We are looking directly east there. You can see the lots of clouds on the horizon just above the Indian Ocean. It is quite a chilly morning this morning, as we are just about to get into the winter months. But look at this beautiful start to the day. And once again, welcome aboard your live safari in the African wild. Look at the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sunrise we have this morning. You can just see the little bits of clouds, stringy clouds that are just there in front of the sun. And we just came over this crest, and Odie and I could not help ourselves to the sunrise. So, so, so beautiful. My name is Devalt, and behind the camera we've got Odie, and welcome to Anbion Punda Private Game Reserve, like I said earlier. And we are going to be heading probably down into this area here in the front of us. And if you look there in the distance, you can see a massive bank of clouds that is over the Indian Ocean there in the distance. You can actually see the way that Odie is just zoomed in now. You can see a little bit of the coastal dune forest and coastal dunes that's just below the clouds there. And look how beautiful the mist is that is forming over all the low-lying areas. We do have a river that flows there off to the right-hand side, and that's also maybe where some of the mist is coming off of. Looks like it's going to be actually quite a nice and warm autumn day. Can feel the sun on our skins already. Listen to the birds calling. We are probably going to head towards the western sector this morning, Odie and I. Sounds like that female leopard that we had last night has moved off from her spot where she was, and we'll go see if we can maybe go and look for some other animals in that area that no one has been driving in for at least the last 24 hours or so. While we are sitting here, we're just listening if we can hear any alarm calls early in the morning. With it being a little bit cool, might find that there's some of the nocturnal animals that are still moving around a little bit. Safari Kitty, you are describing this sky as orange sherbet earlier. It is actually very, very, very beautiful. But Odie and I was just chatting earlier of how in a couple of minutes the sun and the color of the sky turns different colors very, very, very quickly. And all of this mist that you see down in the valleys here will make for some incredible photography later on if we can find maybe some giraffe or something down there. See if we can go and look for some. And all the mist will actually be burning away pretty soon as the sun gets hotter and it gets a little bit higher up into the sky. We see that band of trees that's there in the mist. It's probably like a little hill or crest that is just poking out of the mist there, or some taller trees. And then the low-lying areas, the mist is nice and thick, can barely see into it. But while we are going to be moving around and seeing if we can find some animals, we are going to have a look at the weather for today.
Good morning and welcome to quite a chilly morning here on And Beyond Ngala, where this morning we're looking at some holes in the sand. I'm Yapi, and behind the camera we've got Craig, and we've decided to take a drive down the riverbed, even though it's a little bit cooler. But some of the open spaces actually catches the sunlight first in the morning. And I thought that we might be lucky with something. You see the sun's just starting to poke its head out over the banks. But along that northern bank of the Timavati, it's still cast in the shade. And I couldn't help but look and stop a little while here in the river just to listen out for any calls of animals that we're looking for, and also just to enjoy the moment. You can hear the birds going. There's so much activity that's happened in this riverbed, in this section where we are, with all the diggings and everything. But I think what we'll do is we'll continue along, and then we'll see if we can pick up on any tracks of the lion pride this morning. So I've been listening to the updates on the radio and how the other guys have been tracking them. That picked up the tracks first. Well, that's a good question. Will the vegetation stay green all year round around this area? Unfortunately not. In most of the cases, the grasses have already started turning. The only reason why this particular area is so green is because this is the riverbed and there's still a lot of water here. So plants that grow along the riverbed, some of them are green all year round. But once we move away from the riverbed into the clearings, we'll start to see the change in color. And that will just continue to change as the season goes along. But it is still quite green, more so than usually this time of the year. We had quite a bit of hail damage on the reserve further north about a week ago, and that actually, if you go up to that area now, you'd see that it looks completely different than down here. There's even some green grass still here on the banks, and we get a lot of elephants come down specifically for that, as well as the easy access to the water in this part. But that's why this river is essentially a lifeline on Ngala. Each year during the dry season, this is where the animals come. This is where most of the game viewing actually happens. And also just being able to drive through a river like this is amazing in itself. Danielle, very good question. Do we have aardwolf at Ngala? I've never seen one here, and I don't actually know when last one's been seen here, but they have been recorded in the area, and in theory they should exist here. But with all the other large predators, we tend to not really get the opportunity to see many of the smaller predators, especially the ones that's more nocturnal. It's amazing how much life is in this reeds that you don't actually see. As I'm trying to negotiate the holes dug by elephants here for water, I can just see some hammerkorp and stalks fly off in all kinds of directions. So I think if there was something moving through the reeds in that part, we might have maybe had some help from other birds and creatures in the area that might have given away their position. But I think we're going to head back towards the river, but take a little loop around and get to the area that we want to a little bit quicker. And in the meantime, we'll head over to Tswalu to see what they're up to today.
Good morning and welcome to Tswalu Kalahari, start of another beautiful day. And we have found a small journey of giraffe, and there is a tiny youngster in the group. I can't imagine this guy's more than a couple of weeks to maybe a month old, and difficult to see in this low light. The sun hasn't quite come over the mountains yet, but this guy is young enough that you can still see a piece of his umbilical cord hanging. So that would take a couple of weeks to eventually dry up and fall off. So yeah, definitely a newbie in the reserve, and always amazing to see the little guys out and about. My name is John. I'm going to be your guide for the morning. Behind the camera we have BK, and this morning we are heading to the western end of our reserve, and we'll be looking for whatever it has to offer. Good area for things like wild dogs. Who knows? Let's see what's out there. Hope you enjoy the morning. So you can see these giraffe here, they just starting to wake up. They would have spent most of their evening really not doing much movement. Again, their eyesight not particularly good for moving around in the dark, so they would have found a safe spot and settled down for the night. And with the hope of it warming up soon, they found themselves a nice open area to catch that early morning sun, which will be coming up in the next few minutes behind us. But as always, very alert, keeping a good eye on everything around them. This particular group will be even more so on the alert. A youngster of that size is unfortunately, it is vulnerable. They are not the most easily preyed on animals, but a youngster could be under threat from really anything out here, from hyenas to wild dogs to even things like leopards. In this particular area where we're driving at the moment. So not an easy time for this newborn, but a good mother being very protective, staying close, and she will put up an incredible fight if she feels she has to. A very cute little guy. Bridget, it's a good question. A newborn baby giraffe would be just under, sort of between 1.5 meters to 2 meters. They can, at the age they are, you can already see they're standing up close to mom's belly.
And we know for sure that when they're born, they're dropping to the ground from about 2 meters high. So yeah, their head would be sitting at about 1.5 meters, and almost up to 2 meters already. So they're born quite tall, and as you can see, they're ready for action. Within a short while of being born, they're up and about. Really nice to see them at this age. The moms typically keep them pretty well tucked into the vegetation, so nice to catch them out in the open. It's interesting that you say that the youngsters, giraffe are such unusual creatures in terms of how they actually look, and it is interesting because their proportions are a little strange to us, but yes, the youngsters almost look even more unproportioned. They've got thick bodies, short, stocky necks. So you're right, they seem to grow out a little bit as they get a bit older. And we talk about you talk about how stocky they are. They on birth, that youngster could be anything from about 40 odd kilograms up to close on 100 kilograms at birth. So already it's quite an animal, in terms of its size. But yeah, very nice, very nice. Being as small as it is, once it gets to maturity, they could be up to 1.5 tons if it's a male. And the giraffe, they can sleep standing up, but what you'll find is most often when they sleep, they, very similar to a horse, they'll sort of fold their legs under them and get onto their bellies a little bit onto their side. What they won't do is they won't sleep with the head down. The head has to stay up, or it does stay up, and that'll just make it easier for them to get up and down. With their unusual shape and size, they have quite an intense circulatory system. So their head going down would put them in a bit of trouble. They wouldn't be able to recover from it very easily. So they do sleep standing up, but more often they'll actually go down almost onto their bellies, onto their sides, very similar to a horse. What they might also do is they might put their head down on their own bodies, kind of curl it over onto themselves a little bit, but more often than not, you'll see them with their heads up. Can see the little one there, still not quite sure what to do with real food. It's having a look around, trying to figure things out. At this age, it'll be drinking milk. Not to say it hasn't started nibbling on the trees, but certainly for the first while, they are milk drinkers, going to mom for food. You can see the colours, the sun slowly but surely starting to poke its head up over the Coronaburg Mountains. We're going to keep going, and we're going to be going across to Tristan. Enjoy the morning.
Well, while the sun slowly rises in Tswalu, it's already up here at Juma, which we're thankful for. It's starting to warm things up a little bit. It's a fairly cool start to the day, but a pretty one. Beautiful, beautiful light at the moment. Anyway, my name is Tristan. On camera, I've got him, Paul. Nice to have you along for the ride this morning. Hopefully it's going to be a productive one. We're going to slowly head kind of to the northeast I want to just check the boundary, see if there's any sign of Kalamba coming out of Torchwood, or if there's any sign of Marips or Tandi. That's the kind of plan. And then maybe we'll pop onto Chitwa and see if our young fella, Kuchava's cub, is in any way, shape or form around. He might kind of still be hanging and lurking, although he went into Little Gowrie. So from there, I'm not sure which way he will go. Might come back towards Chitwa. He's been using the drainage line behind the dam wall a lot by the sounds of things, because most days I hear that there's a male leopard track going in behind the dam wall. And everyone keeps saying that it's Shasha and Sibui and Shasha and Langa and Sibui and Langa, but I actually personally think it's Kuchava and the cub. Like I say, I don't want to call him a cub because he's not really a cub anymore. He's a sub-adult. So, you know, I think it's more along the lines of those two that are going into that drainage line rather than Shasha and Sibui. It's my gut feel, but you never know. Maybe I'm wrong. Seems like Sibui and Langa are spending more time around sort of Hoffman's, Little Gowrie than they are Chitwa. And Shasha just seems to be all over the place. Although we haven't seen him for a while now. Shasha and Langa have both been MIA for a little bit. The guys on that side are seeing them, but for us on Chitwa, there's been not that many sightings of either of them. I'm quite keen to see Shasha actually, because I'd love to see how big he's gotten. These boys grow so fast at the ages that they're at that you kind of don't see them for a month or two and then they feel like they've doubled in size. So it'll be interesting just to spend some time with him. They also are the two kind of leopards left really that I haven't seen on this particular shift. So I would like to kind of find them. So we'll see what we get. In the meantime though, I'm not the only one out on Juma. Lauren is also around, and I think she's going to be trying to follow up on Aina Den, but she also wants to say good morning.
I do. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the other Juma feed, because as you know, there are always two. We just stopped to admire this wildebeest here, which actually looks very beautiful in the morning light. My name is Lauren. I do have Davi on camera today. And yes, it's going to be a good morning. It's very, very cold, to be honest with you all. It's chilly, but we're out a little bit later today, so at least it's not as chilly as it was half an hour ago. It does warm up quickly out here, so I'm not complaining. Bit by bit, you start to take your layers off and feel a little bit more normal. But this boy here, yes, you, is actually magnificent. Wildebeest, of course, are very common here. We see them on quarantine all the time, and generally thought not to be the most aesthetically pleasing of animals. But if you look closely, especially in this golden light, they're actually lovely. Very alert. See the ears? He's probably listening to me, thinking, oh, she thinks I'm beautiful. And male wildebeest will always be found alone, unless ladies approach them, of course. Monroe, no, absolutely not. The buffalo herds we get out here are huge, massive numbers, are not always on Juma. Juma's a relatively small property, but within the sort of sector that we're in, the northern sector of the Sabi Sands, definitely more buffalo. Lots and lots of buffalo. Not that many wildebeest that we see, at least on Juma. There's a sort of herd that we always see on quarantine, and then a few lone bulls. There's not anywhere near the sort of numbers you get up in the Masai Mara and the Serengeti. There's no migration here, I'm afraid, unless they decide to make a quick trip onto another property and back again. But otherwise, no. But it's nice. It's been nice following the herd on quarantine. 2 years ago, we saw all the calves drop, and they were very successful that year. And then sadly, this year, they were not too successful. They lost a lot. They lost a lot of their new offspring. So the beast has been very obliging. Yes, they are the same thing. Abby's just going to wipe the lens because, well, cold and the heat, you know what happens. Yes, they are the same thing. So wildebeest it's an Afrikaans word, is that right, Davi? And that's the proper name. But due to the sound that they make, which Davi can actually do very well, do you want to show us? Oh, the game drive radio ruined that. On you go. That's Davi pretending to be a wildebeest. But that's the sound they make, and it almost sounds like, and that's how the sort of, not official name came about. So yes, they are absolutely the same thing. Okay, Mr. Wildebeest, we're going to start our bumble. We're going to look for anything we can find today, and I am going to start at the hyena den, of course. One day, I'm going to get lucky.
If you love to watch Wild Earth, then we are inviting you to join our Explorers program. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions. Join our guides for a chat around the fire, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn allows us to escape into nature every single day. Founded in 1973, the Endangered Wildlife Trust has consistently and effectively worked towards achieving our conservation legacy. Contribute to this legacy by visiting EWT's Get Wild eShop and purchase products with a purpose.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinde Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Delivering 6 hours of HD wildlife content live every day is no small feat. It's a massive team effort, and we all rely on one another. Cam Ops have a bit of work to do in the morning, up nice and early, get all the checks out of the way, and make sure we're ready to go live. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the dawn here on Eco Training Pridelands, where it is a magnificent, cool morning. The sun has come out to greet us, and it has been a little bit fresh this morning, but it seems to be warming up quite nicely. Hello, my name is Steve, joined by Gert on camera, and as always, we are delighted to have you with us. So please do feel free to send through any questions and comments you might have for us here at Pridelands. This morning, we are going to be delving deep into some plant medicinal properties on this wonderful Wednesday. It's been a few days or a few weeks since I've done a medicinal plant, and today I'm going to focus on an all-time favorite, a very versatile and adaptable medicinal plant known as the sickle bush. And we have one just behind us over here. They are a pioneer, everybody, so they do grow out of disturbed areas. And what's quite nice about this individual growing over here is that we've actually got access to the roots because of some erosion that's taken place along the riverbank. So we're going to be able to use some of these roots here, obviously using it in a very sustainable way. We've got plant parts as well. We've got leaves, we've got thorns, we've got bark, we've got the whole tree itself. Now, how do we identify the sickle bush? What are the characteristic features? These very, very sharp spines where the leaves grow off. The leaves actually grow off of the spines. They are not thorns, they are spines. You can actually see on the tip of this very sharp spine over here, the leaves are growing. There's one, there's two, another one. And those leaves are twice divided. We've detailed it quite a few times before. What are the purpose of leaves being twice divided? And these ones have closed up. You can actually see how it's folded. The leaf itself, this entire thing is the leaf that has been divided into two. If I try and open it up for you, see that there's once divided leaf, lit, and then again that one has been divided again. Quite easy to see that it's not a simple leaf, it's a compound leaf, and these leaves are quite tasty. Actually, pretty much all the animals. It's not as tasty right now as it was a few weeks ago. Many animals, many browsers will feed on this tree. It is a home to all sorts of things. And you actually see where elephants have been eating. They've ripped the bark right over here, breaking the bark. Now these stems, these very sharp stems, are incredibly strong. They go straight through a shoe, straight through a tractor tire, straight into any flat wheel that you will have afterwards. And some people have commonly called this plant, in a funny way, Landrovia flat tyrus, because if you drive over one, you are going to have a flat tire. It's obviously not Landrovia flat tyrus. It is called Dichrostachys cinerea, di for two, and crow for colors, so two colors. When you have a look at the flower's got that very colorful red and the white underneath, also known as the Chinese lantern. They're very pretty, and cinerea is due to the ashy colored or gray bits of the plant. Okay, so Rudy's very excited to be learning some plants today. I'm excited as well, Rudy. So there's some new growth growing off over here. Kudu, Nyala, Impala, giraffe will all feed very happily off of this new growth. And the sickle bush itself is an encroaching species that takes over in areas that have been overutilized. And so in doing that, we're going to utilize this one a little bit today. And we'll delve more into this plant as we go on. But in the meantime, let's send you back over to Lauren.
Well, I did get lucky. I think it may be about to end, but we just watched the sweetest moment of June arriving to the den. Nobody's here. And then June does what every mother hyena does, puts her head in the dentrons and makes this very low sound. Really, really low. And the cub immediately can identify, that's my mom. Mom is calling. And of course, little Novella popped out. Ah, Mom. She's just over there. But for some reason, she's not following. I think your mom is waiting. Now we're being defiant. You woke up, you responded, now it's time to follow. Here's June, look. Waiting, waiting, waiting. It's so nice to see June, and look how just massive she is. June is a big hyena. She always has been one of the larger females, and she's full and just huge. She's bigger than Intima in terms of size and body weight. She's a big girl. God. Novella, I really think you should go and join your mom. The cubs seem to reach an age where they just don't want to respond to mom anymore. We've watched this a few times with Intima, even Ribbon at one point. And June's coming back. I think she's gonna start to get angry. it's a full belly. She's definitely feasted recently. On what? Ah, that's perfect. Ah, perfect. Thank you, June. Somebody's coming. Hello. Mind my head, my cameraman tells me. Would you rather look at the hyenas or my head? Thank you, Dobby. Oh, sweet. We haven't had a moment like this in a while at the den. Oh no, please don't walk away, June. I think this happens a lot. They seem to have a spot that's nestled in the grass not too far away. And when we come here, I think that's sometimes why we don't see them. Novella's not following. She looks so different, my goodness. Nervous. Many of you are also happy, me too. That's why it's worth coming by. I mean, the pain of coming by and having it empty is hard going, but that's why you've just got to keep trying. Patience really does pay off. I don't think this sighting's going to last terribly long, but at least we get to see them. Know that everybody's doing okay. Now, Novella, which means adore in Shangaan, is such a nice name. And she was born late November, early December 2020, so still very, very young. And Susan, you're saying? Kids will be kids, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think it's easy to be a mother, human or any other mammal, at least. Look at June, she's just watching. Now she's coming back again. For some reason, Novella is just refusing to follow. But June, as a mother, knows that Novella will be hungry. Look at the two of them. Just like this standoff. Duncan, right now, Novella should be following June. June is trying to go to a little private space to feed Novella, and she's obviously refusing. But in terms of hunting, it depends on age. And that's a really interesting question, because what's happened to the Juma clan right now is a sort of split. This den where we're sitting right now used to be the hubbub of all activity. Everybody used to be here. Every single cub and sometimes every single mother. We're starting to make some decisions. And the younger two, which is Novella and Intima's son, who's not got a name yet, stay in the den. They're still far too young. So this cub that we're looking at is too young to be going on hunts. Far too small. Look at her. She's learning. So June, who's coming back, by the way, is taking her further and further away from the den, and is probably to go into some sun and a nice sweet spot. But it's also to teach the youngsters. It's also to teach the youngsters, come with me, come with me, come with me. It's a process. Slowly but surely they're going to start to learn to go further, what's safe, what's not, follow mum. And eventually they'll reach the stage of the other cubs like Ngwazi and Shambulu. They are completely roaming young, wild and free. Following mom, going to kill sites, maybe even attempting to hunt much, much smaller animals. Gingerika and Pumela are still younger. And I think because there's the two older boys, if that makes sense, Gingerika, Pumela and Braveheart are following suit. This is not going to plan, everyone. She seems really nervous. What's up, little one? You know the Wild Earth vehicle. Strange that Mom's here, who's coming back once again. Joy, I actually just mentioned that, Joy in Hong Kong. Novella means adore in Shangaan. It's a beautiful, beautiful word. I love it. I really do. Adore. Novella. We actually put Novella's naming to the viewers as a poll. We gave a choice, and I'm very, very glad Novella got chosen. That was the one I wanted. She's so small, but she's also getting so big. What's up? And of course, for the younger two, Novella and Antima's son, they've lost the older cubs. All that bonding they had, all that love and care and fun they had with Shimbulu and Ngwazi, they've gone. They've disappeared. They may come back. They may... What is wrong? I'm crying here. I think we might be finally getting somewhere. We're taking on an alternative method to suckling here. It's not normally the positioning. Oh, okay, yeah, we're getting there. That took a while, didn't it? Good job, June. Persistence paid off for you as a mother. Edward, 100%. June is such a patient mum. That was a lot of back and forth. Cup was nervous for some reason, not happy, and that was a lot of come on now, come on now, come on now. Yes, very patient. June's a good hyena. I've got a lot of love for June. She's always sort of just been in the middle. That stable friend that we all have who's never up, never down. That's that friend that you can rely on. That's June. And she's beautiful. She's been through the wars. She's obviously got Sutu. She's done very, very well with Sutu. You regularly see them together. Sutu's her older daughter. And of course now she's got little Novella. We think June might be the lowest of all. I think there's been a bit of a switch up with June and Corky, but to be completely honest, with what little observations we've had, don't think I could conclusively say so at this time. We know the top three. Between June and Corky is an interesting one. This is so lovely. Not had a moment like this in a long time, have we, Darby? The positioning doesn't look entirely comfortable. There we go. And you see the line in the sun. Remember the hot summer's day when they would try and find a small or any patch of shade, really, that they could find, and now they're lying in the sun. Try and warm up. It's cold. Who wants to be in the shade right now? And also in a few months towards the end of winter, again, the hyena dynamics will change. We'll start to see them less and less, I'm afraid. Okay, I'm definitely going to stay here for as long as I can, but I believe Mr. Tristan is on a bumble.
I'm sure Lauren's going to stay there. She's been trying to get that den active for a few days now, so I'm sure she's very happy that the den is somewhat active at the moment. We have had nothing. It's been dead quiet. I've had a few fork-tailed drongos fly over my head, and that's it. There's not a track to use or follow up on. So far, there's absolutely no sign of anything moving around last night, which is very weird and odd. Sorry, I just heard a bird alarming. Well, I thought I heard a bird alarm. Everybody's all right. No one's complaining too much. Anyway, yeah, we haven't picked up any signs of anything. I mean, not even, decent tracks for impalas or anything like that. It's just quiet. And the radio itself, there's nothing going on. No one's picked up any signs of anything. So we're just doing a slow kind of bumble around the east at the moment. Kalamba, Tandi and Marips have to be somewhere, so it's just a matter of trying, and eventually, hopefully, we get some sign of them. I expect, just given where Marips was the last few days, and obviously Tandi as well, which was down on the southern boundary, I'm expecting them to be, or tracks to be, somewhere where I am now. She might have come and found him and taken him to a kill, or potentially they've gone to First Rock just for her to put him there for a little bit with the presence of Kuchava's male around. So yeah, just trying to kind of figure it out at this stage. We haven't driven much inside Torchwood, and obviously we can't. But you never know. Maybe we pick up some sort of sign of these two this side. And also Kalamba, she came in, but no one's picked up any tracks for her since yesterday morning, which surprises me. Yes, Roxanne, Kuchava is older than Kalamba. She was born 2014, whereas Kalamba was 2017. So, see, Kuchava is the older sister of Kalamba. At the moment, I'm just driving very slowly here because Marips has been around this area a lot lately, and he likes to sit on mounds and fallen over stumps. He's not a tree cat. We very seldom find him up in a tree. But we find him a lot on like fallen trees and kind of things that are quite low to the ground but slightly elevated out of the grass. So I'm just scanning around. There's a few little nice termite mounds on either side of me here that he could easily be sitting on. So we're just checking very, very carefully and very slowly as we go. But no tracks to speak of. I'm surprised because yesterday I did a few loops as well after we had Kuchava's cub. And we didn't find any sign of Tanya and Marips, even though somebody reported that they saw one of them in the morning. But I suspect maybe it was Kuchava's boy that they saw, and we just found him, because we found him quite close to where that report came from. So I don't know if maybe that's what's happened, and maybe they, misidentified it. We know that these kind of things do happen from time to time. So check, there's a nice big game path that comes through here that I know Tandi walks every now and then. No sign for any of them this side. I wonder. Kalamba, the last time she came, she also walked through the same block here and popped out at the power lines and then headed towards Torchwood Dam. So maybe it's just worth checking the power lines area and seeing if maybe, just maybe, we get lucky and pick up a track somewhere there. The power lines road is probably very difficult to see tracks at the moment with all the grass growth. But the on either side is nice and soft, so we should be able to pick it up. All right, so we're going to keep checking. Hopefully we'll have some luck and we'll be able to find one of these cats.
Every creature in nature has been blessed with a mother.
There we go, there we go, there we go. First on 4 legs. Oh my goodness.
For most African mammals, motherhood starts by giving birth, surrounded by danger.
Look, it's kicking, it's struggling, trying to get out. It's like, Mom, I want to be out. I don't want to be in here anymore. How incredible.
Babies need constant attention from their mothers as they explore the world around them.
As that little buffalo takes its very first steps in what can be a fairly cruel world out here for a young herbivore.
Accidents are bound to happen, but a mother's love and sympathy provides comfort.
Oh, careful, careful, careful. Oh, no. Oh, it's okay, little one.
Join Tristan and Lauren at the fire on Sunday the 9th of May to celebrate our wild mothers and the countless difficulties they overcome.
Being a safari driver requires some serious multitasking ability. You've got to be able to talk, look at the road, steer, and occasionally get the vehicle into the right gear.
Do not crash into any trees. Oh, not a dozy.
Just jump into the car and hope for the best, and you'll see where it takes you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm surprised they're moving as fast as that didn't go well.
Who is the best driver? Well, me, of course, although some of the cam ops might disagree.
I love being a cam op for Wild Earth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want the wildebeest cross. Is it trying? The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky, lucky wildebeest. You have another day to live.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Situation remains the same. So very peaceful. No tantrums. No hyena nonsense. Just mom and daughter. I remember when we first saw Novella. She was tiny. A little black ball. Hyenas are so dark. It looks almost black, but they're really, really dark brown. And now she's got a spot pattern and she's quite light. It's amazing how they all look so different. I'd love to all get them together for a family portrait, but that's not going to happen. But they're still part of the clan. The cubs will still interact. They'll still know each other. They'll still be happy to see one another. It's still a social unit. It's just they're all at different stages in their lives now. If you think the boys, Ribbon's boys, the oldest boys, are possibly now around 14 months or coming up to that, it's too long to be at a den site stuck in a termite mound. They need to learn the skills of how to be a hyena, really. How to navigate, how to survive, how to thrive. It's a learning process, and it's a long one, just like for humans. Human children really are not independent for a long time. Got a lot of skills to learn on just how to be a human. A good one, hopefully. Now, when I first met June, her ear was not like that. But she was always easy to identify. She's a really large female and she's got a really unique spot pattern. But of course now, since the matriarchal takeover, she's got a little bit of a ear design. So it makes it really easy to identify. You can spot June a mile away. Toothpaste. What a wonderful name. I love toothpaste. It's one of my favorite things to do, brush my teeth. Toothpaste, you're asking about the size difference. Now, it's quite unusual. It's not really the norm across the board for females to be bigger than males. Not at all. It's normally the other way around. And we were discussing that yesterday, talking about sexual selection. But in hyenas, of course, the females are larger. So survival technique in a matriarchal society. And the females can go up to about 80 kg. And, I mean, they are a lot taller. But it's more body mass and muscle and body weight where the females win, and the males are said to come in at about 60 kg. That's quite a substantial difference. And you can see it, you can really visibly see it when you see them next to each other. Obviously, some males do better than others, but the height is sort of averaging, the shoulder height, around 85 centimeters, so it's under the meter. But hyenas are really big animals, especially when you see them on foot. I've walked with hyenas many times, and of course they come into our camp. So yes, we walk with them a lot. And they are just really, really large animals. Huge skulls, huge paws. Especially in comparison to other hyena species, the spotted are the biggest. And that's why watching little Maribs get a little bit too confident and chase hyenas, he's got to be careful. They are big, powerful animals. And the hyenas out here are more than familiar with the leopards. But, I mean, June's much bigger than Maribs. Maribs will be longer. Leopards have quite long bodies. But June will be taller with a substantial body weight behind her. Nina, any wild animal you have to be careful, especially in a game reserve like the Sabi Sands. So yes, you have to be very, very cautious, of course. But the hyenas here, and I'll talk about this area only, they are very habituated, very familiar with human camps, very familiar with vehicles. I mean, this is a mother and cub suckling about less than 10 meters away from the car. So they're very habituated to us. And we do see them on foot, on bushwalks. The Juma team used to do a lot of bushwalks, and we always used to see hyenas on foot. So they're very familiar. And they know when they come into a human camp, they're going to see humans. But generally speaking, they are a wild animal. They wouldn't run and attack you. Hyenas are not renowned for doing that. But they are very curious. So there's lots of horror stories about hyenas approaching someone sleeping or who's left their door open, of course, because they're very, very curious. But they're a wild carnivore after all, so you have to be careful. But on foot, really, they're quite easy to walk with. Swazi joined me on my quarantine jog once. I thought it was Davi. And I turned around and it was Swazi. And he was just excited to be running. But yes, you can't get complacent about anything out here. You always have to have your wits about you and remember that you're in the space that belongs to these wild animals. They're not tame, they're not domesticated, they're not captive. Yes, habituated, which just means they are relaxed around you, they're familiar with the vehicle. But they're still wild animals. I think we're going to sit here a little bit longer because it's just too precious. But we're going to send you guys across to Ngala.
So we have left those lion tracks. They have cut quite far north and away from the river. And we made our way back to the river, and along the way came across this southern ground hornbill, which have just turned around and is now facing the sun with its back. And what's quite noticeable about this bird is usually they're in little groups of about 4 or 5. In this case, this one's on its own. There's a few interesting features about it. You see the feathers look a little bit roughed up. Looks like there's some feathers missing behind the head. And then the red pouch on the throat is also got quite large dark patches. And then the shape, the general shape of the bill. So I'm going to take a guess and say that this is a young one. It hasn't fully developed its adult plumage yet. Maybe that's why it's on its own. You can see the head's constantly turning, so I'm sure from where it's sitting, it's using that vantage point. There's lots of clearings nearby, and it looks like it might take off. It was almost readying itself to fly off. I wonder where the rest of its group is. It might be somewhere nearby that we just can't see it, and from where it is, it might see it. Christopher, not really. Like normally you'd find them moving with a group, but I think in this case it might just be that we're not seeing the rest of them, although they might be in the larger area. And they are such a large birds that they do spread out over an area sometimes, or maybe the adults are not too far off. But yeah, they're normally in groups. It was just a jump, a little bit higher up. Maybe it needed a clearer view of the area. And there it goes. So, I think we're going to continue along the riverbed and see, bank. We are essentially driving on the Timbavati River's bank at this point. And see the lion tracks coming from this side, and they headed all the way up to where we had to turn around. So these lions have gone on quite a walkabout during the night, and I think that it's one of the things that I've noticed about the cooler times of the year. Usually when it starts drying out, we see that the lions make movements further and further in the night.
We were looking for two young cheetahs, and then we came across 2 warthogs here, and here you can see there's quite a big one. Oh, he's actually coming straight towards a little bit of a clearing here in front of us. I'm just going to keep my head nice and low. Straight ahead of our vehicle now. He's feeding in the long grass there. You can see the inflorescences of the grass. Quite a bit of moisture on the grass this morning after all that mist and dew that we have. You can see how he's feeding. And there's the other individual. 2 warthogs that's here. You can see the snout is reflecting the light a little bit off because it's so wet from all the moisture on the ground and in the grass. You can see the Sorry, I interrupted myself there, Glennon. You're asking if the warthogs are territorial. They are not territorial in the sense that they'll try and keep other males away, because this actually looks like these are actually two boars by the looks of things. You can just see the big growths on their faces, the big callus-sized pieces of skin that's on their faces tells us it's 2 males. The one to the right that we had earlier was quite a bit bigger than the one that was in screen just now. And they will fight with other boars when it comes to the breeding season, just to get a bit of a hierarchy, and then they'll mate with all the females that is around. So they don't really scent mark and patrol territories, if that makes sense. This one's head is really down. I wonder if it's just feeding on the short grass, or maybe there's like a little bit of roots or something that's trying to get to. You can see its head's moving up and down. Maybe trying to push the dirt away a little bit with its nose. See, it's got a little bit bigger tusks than what the other boar had. And if you look at those big pieces of skin that's on the sides of his face there, so the female would have way smaller ones. So the fact that they're so big probably means that this is, or definitely means that this is a male. And those big callus-sized pieces of skin is there to protect him, because you can imagine, look at these tusks, just imagine another warthog fighting with him and them thrashing their heads from side to side. Those callus-sized pieces of skin really protects the face, doesn't it? Got nice long eyelashes and eyebrows as well. Beautiful with the sun coming through the grass there. Lana, you are asking if their tusks are part of their teeth. Yes, it is actually. It grows straight out of their mouths and just in front of the rest of their teeth and between the front teeth that's on the front of their jaw. So those are essentially metamorphosized, what do you call it? Basically what canines would have been, because it's the bottom teeth that is that's developed into these tusks, and there's actually the top ones are the quite big ones, and then the bottom tusks are quite small but very sharp ones. And every time this warthog is opening and closing its mouth, those 2 little tusks are grinding away on each other, making them super sharp. You can see they are very relaxed with the vehicle being around. away, about, I'd say so, 30 meters away from us or so, maybe 20 meters away, and their tails are down and not up the way it can sometimes go when they get a little bit scared and running away from everything. You can see they're in like a little spot where the grass isn't too long, so they can keep an eye out around them, especially this time of the year when the grass is super long. Must be quite scary being a warthog and not being able to see over the long grass. It's a good reason for them sticking around this little clearing area. William, you're asking if it's possible for a warthog to be born without tusks. So when they are born, they actually don't have the tusks. They grow over time, and when they're born, you can't really see them, and then as they get a little bit older, you'll see them starting to come out a little bit or so. I have personally never ever seen a warthog without tusks. Smaller tusks, yes, because I think it has a lot to do with genetics and the size of the tusks of the mother and the father that's been passed on to the youngsters. But I've never ever seen one without tusks before, only really small tusks. We are standing right next to a small little pan as well, so these warthogs have a little bit of mud around here if they want to go and roll in the mud on the edge of the pan, and lots of food and some water as well. See, this one's going now, just picking his head up and looking around and walking off to the left there. Look how quickly it disappears in the long grass there. So it just stops and listens every now and then. But while our warthogs are moving off, I think we are going to keep on looking for these cheetahs, and then we'll send you over to Lauren.
Oh, this just keeps getting sweeter and sweeter. Everyone's very happy on the radio that the hyena den is active. Lots of guests want to see hyenas, and unfortunately it's just not been active. And June's just grooming away here, a little bit rough. Oh, this is not a good sign. No. But it's been more than enough. Let's just not get too sad. It's been more than we've had since I've come back. Hello, beautiful. You're getting just too big. So big. Oh, now you're going to inspect the car. Oh. They've gone under the car, everyone. Oh no, we're at the tire. But tires are always really interesting things, because no doubt we drive over a lot of things. So they probably smell just fantastic if you're a hyena. So with the den, I think this morning has proved it's all about timing. Really, you've just got to be here at the right time. June's leaving now, and most likely Novella will go back inside. And that's it. That'll be it. There are only 2 cubs inside, and of course 2 mothers. No, we're coming back. This is fantastic news. Look at June's shadow, Dobby. It's huge. Jelly, they can actually... There's no sort of seasonal mating period or seasonal birthing period. Generally speaking, they do give birth in time for summer, because summer is plentiful. Summer is when water is everywhere, there's no shortage of water, and really there's no shortage of food. That's normally when you get the impala lambs and wildebeest calves, and a lot of the antelopes are also giving birth. So sad as it sounds, it's a feast for the predators. So normally that's when they will give birth, or at least they'll give birth a little bit before that to ensure there's a plentiful supply. But really, I mean, the Ngwazi and Shimbulu were born in March last year, and that's the tail end of summer. So obviously they're restricted to a den for quite some time, and then they get mobile. So they really can give birth at any point. It's similar to the cats, I guess, that if a mother loses a litter, which is fairly common in hyenas, then they'll slowly come into estrus again and get ready to mate again. So it's not on a cycle. But the Djuma clan have been very, very lucky this year. We've not witnessed any cub that we've lost. So there may have been loss in terms of Navella might have had a litter mate that maybe died during the birthing process or died a little bit later, but we didn't get to see them. All the cubs that we have seen are still alive today, and the clan is thriving. Every adult female has a cub or more right now. It was a really good time for the Djuma clan. And I think Isaac, if it was Isaac, or maybe Tim, witnessed hyenas mating in the Masai Mara, which is incredible because it's really not something you see so often, especially in an area like we are in the Lowveld, where it's very thick and dense. It's quite a treat to see hyenas mating. June, you're a little bit too large to fit in between those two trees. Oh, these creatures make me laugh no end. That was very sweet. I have a funny feeling that was June putting her cub back in. Look, it's time to go in. Oh, June. What a mother right there. Chasing her cub back into the den for safety. She's sleepy. I can tell right now June is going to go and find the most perfect spot to snooze all day. I can tell you for sure that's what June's going to do. Oh, that was just too precious. We more than likely will leave now, but what a wonderful morning at the hyena den.
Do you dream of an African holiday in unparalleled luxury? Where your days are spent in the company of wildlife and cooling off in your very own plunge pool? Well, this month's prize may be the one for you. Expertly camouflaged into the unspoiled environment of the world-famed Sabi Sand Game Reserve, it's hard not to fall in love with Simbambili. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of May, and you and a friend could be jetting off to this ultimate escape from reality. A luxurious safari and spa getaway wrapped up in one impressive package. Wild Earth explorers, it's in your nature. The Mara Triangle is a jewel in the Kenyan conservation crown, and thanks to the dedication of the Mara Conservancy, it thrives as one of Earth's greatest national treasures.
We have been experiencing a reduction in the whale snails that we collect on a monthly basis, and this is basically attributed to our intense patrols.
Over the years, this courageous team of anti-poachers has reduced poaching to almost zero.
Mimi naitwa Stephen Olereso. Nimefanya kazi miaka 16 sasa. Kuanzia miaka 2002. Hao wanadamu ni wenye utua sana inaogofya ni wale wenye wanaenda kama ndovu. Wanatumia kama bunduki. Sasa hiyo ndio huwa inakuanga hatari sana kwa sisi.
As a result of the global pandemic and the massive reduction in tourist revenue, the Mara Triangle is facing a financial crisis. They need your help if they are to continue their ability to protect this magical land.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Welcome back to Prydens, and I'm ensconced in a sickle bush. Not really, I don't think I'd be able to get out if I was inside of this bush. But back to the sickle bush, everybody. Very important tree. I mean, first of all, that's very edible. As I said before, the animals will feed on the leaves itself. I also found a very nice pod over here, a sickle bush pod. All of our legumes have got a very sort of bean-like pod or fruit. And in saying that, the sickle bush is indeed a legume. And you might want to know, what is a legume? I detailed it, I think, the morning before last. Legumes have the ability to fix nitrogen. So I've managed to harvest a small root from this tree. And here is the main sort of root coming down, and then you get all of these smaller branchlet rootlets. And on top of them, or along them, inside the soil, obviously this one was exposed, you'll get a whole lot of bacteria, rhizobacteria, mycorrhizobacteria, which actually form on top of this root and increase the surface area for absorption of nutrients and for the fixing of nitrogen from the atmospheric nitrogen that you find in the soil. So that allows the sickle bush to pretty much create its own nutrients. Nitrogen is a very important element when it comes to plant growth. So sickle bush are able to fix nitrogen to the soil around them and obviously improve the living conditions. Now, at the same time, sickle bush around South Africa has become a big problem because it encroaches. It's a plant that actually takes over in areas of poor land management, areas where there's been overgrazing. Lots of old cattle farms that have been turned to game farms are thick with this stuff, and it's nature's way of protecting the vegetation. So when you get overgrazing and you need an encroachment happens, essentially you get erosion. And look down by my feet here. This is the sickle bush itself. It's growing in this erosion ditch. Look at all these branches. Look at the shade it's providing. Look how it's stabilizing the soil. And so Mother Nature has its way of putting in a plant that is nearly indestructible into an area that needs stability. Obviously, if it put a tree here that just gets smashed and eaten and uprooted, the soil is going to get washed away once more. But sickle bush, very rarely are they pushed over. Very rarely are they damaged to a major degree. They are hedged and broken, but they're never really removed from the soil. So from an ecological point of view, this plant holds a very, very important ecological role. If goes back a little bit, you'll notice that I'm standing on an island that is basically being held together by 2, maybe 3 sickle bush plants. Those roots are growing underneath the ground and they're popping up over here, and so this sort of island in this riverine erosion sort of ditch is being supported and stabilized by these 2 trees, and at the same time these 2 trees now have facilitated around them the growth of all of this grass. All around where there's no sickle bush, there's no grass. It's completely overgrazed. There's nothing to hold the soil, but right here where these 2 trees are going, them bringing the nitrogen into the soil is allowing these grasses grasses to grow, which is obviously increasing. So we call them pioneers as well. Pioneers are plants that are able to move into area, establish and improve the conditions for plants going forward. So really, really nice to see this example of a tree that at the moment in South Africa, there are teams and there are actually people moving around clearing sickle bush encroachments around South Africa. It's a very tricky plant to get in and about because of those spines. They are very difficult to deal with, but sickle bush, if you're from Johannesburg, all the wood being sold in and around on the side of the road, you notice it now at the moment, it's all sickle bush or sicklebush, and I think that's got to do with the pod. It almost looks like a sickle-shaped pod. One of them, let me grab it off there. Sorry, I've got some plant parts here. A kind of a sickle. So it's a nice hardwood. It works very, very well for making a nice braai. It's not hardwood wool, so it doesn't last very, very, very long, but it makes the perfect sort of braai wood for guys who like to have a nice braai on a Friday, Saturday, or any afternoon of the week, which you would like that, wouldn't you? So very, very nice tree. And encroaching. So what is encroachment? Moving into an area and stabilizing the soil, because otherwise it's all going to wash away. Peter, you like the lantern, the Chinese lantern flower. It is a very pretty flower. Unfortunately, the flowers have come and gone. They were here in the summertime, but it's definitely one of the prettiest flowers you find out here. And it's attached to probably one of the most sort of easily identifiable plants, and also one of the plants that every guide needs to know very quickly, because as I said before, they are very, very sharp, and if you like changing tires, you need to drive over one of these. And the problem is the elephants do break the branches, so you need to identify that branch, because if that's lying on the road, you want to try and avoid it, because if you don't, the smallest of branches will go straight through your vehicle tire. I've got one stuck in my boot at the moment, and you will basically not be able to drive much further. So you'll definitely get your Land Rover tire changing skills up into practice. So while we move on, we're going to now start dissecting this plant for you. I'm going to send you over to the west, to Tswalu Kalahari.
So we are still continuing our search out here. As of yet, we have actually seen a couple of wild dog tracks in the area we're looking, but nothing really fresh enough or concrete to be chasing up on. But at least we are in the right area, it seems, and not sure where they would have gone from here. A lot of their hunting activity is towards a particular body of water, and we'll be heading in that direction. At the moment, the pack on Tswalu, the alpha female, for sure she has pups, and that is making it a little bit more difficult to see at the moment. We've opted to not go and see the den site for the first couple of weeks, just give her time to settle and to be comfortable in her area. But this area we're in at the moment, this is the place to be looking. If the rest of the pack is on the hunt, we'll catch them out in this area. It is the time of day as well. It's not that particularly worried about temperature, but I would imagine, like most things, they would have been getting up a little bit later this morning because of the cold, and it's just starting to warm up enough now that animals will be a little bit more happy in moving. So we'll keep going, we'll keep heading towards water and seeing if that's not the spot they've headed to. Obviously around a waterhole it's a good concentration of wildlife, and especially going into the drier months. So with that in mind, it would make sense for the dogs. They are smart. They'll know that's the place to go and look for food. The water in this area, you know, because of the incredibly dry environment, we do supplement a little bit here and there with borehole water. And with that, you know, coming out of the earth, it is going to be drinkable. But the danger with this kind of water is if you're drinking it, you know, with other animals going there, it's going to pick up bacteria. So my recommendation wouldn't be to be drinking it. But yeah, we're going to continue our search, and we're going to be heading over to Tristan.
Well, sight for sore eyes, isn't it? We've got Thandi with us. We've had the most epic little tracking morning. Just after we saw you guys just now, we kind of dipped down below where we don't get signal, but we've picked up tracks for Thandi, and they were fresh, and she went into a block, and we went round, and the tracks came out, and we followed those, and then they went into another block, and we went round, no tracks came. We went back around, and we were looking around, then eventually spotted her deep in the block on a termite mound, much like this. She's busy hunting at the moment, so she's looking around for food. You can see she's also, for some reason today, decided she wants to go under Mpho's seat and say hello to him. But she's quite active this morning. She's chasing all kinds of things and is fairly busy at the moment stalking a steenbok that keeps kind of just trotting ahead of her, not running, but just trotting and kind of keeping its distance from her. We've tried to give her a lot of room and kind of to move, but I think the steenbok's well in tune with what's going on, because the only reason I think we spotted her is that she went up onto this mound to watch the steenbok, and the steenbok was already, when we saw her, trotting away from where she was. So she's, I think, not going to win with the steenbok, but maybe she flushes a duiker in the kind of pursuit of the steenbok. We'll just have to wait and see. But like I say, I always love a morning like this where you find fresh tracks and you know they're fresh, you know the cat's not far, and then you find them. It's like the most invigorating thing in the world, for me personally. So I'm super excited this morning that we managed to find her. She's such an epic cat. I could spend all my time with her. She's incredibly efficient at what she does. She's also incredibly efficient at disappearing. So we're going to try and just keep up with her. It's quite a difficult area that we're in. Lots of big bumps and little holes and stumps and all kinds of other nonsense that we don't particularly enjoy. But it's part and parcel of where we are. The nice thing is towards Djuma, so things should be good to follow her for a while. Carl, not that we've ever had in Djuma, no. She's the oldest leopardess that we have right now, but not that we've ever had. The oldest leopardess that we've ever had was Safari, Thandi's grandmother. She was over 19 when she eventually died. Thandi at the moment is only 14, going on 15 years. So she's still got a way to go to catch her grandmother. 19 is an exceptionally old leopard. It's not a cat that's... Sorry, little web, I didn't see you there, I'm sorry. It's not a cat that you're going to get very often in the wild. In fact, most cats in captivity don't even make it that old. So for a wild leopard to get to 19 years is pretty ridiculous. Now I'm going to have to... might have to drop my antenna, which might result in a loss of signal. I'm going to try and just turn it through slowly, and we should be okay. Thank you, Mpho. Well done. Not an easy area that we're trying to negotiate here. Typical Thandi when she's on a mission. At least we've still got her. She's being like nice in a way that she's not far. She's kind of choosing nice game paths to walk. So we're just trying to find ways around those kind of game points. Just lots and lots and lots of fallen over stumps like this one in front that are around us. And so everything is kind of, she just hops over them. But for us, we've got to slowly kind of go round and zigzag and try and figure out a way through. She's coming right to us, which is nice. Good morning, beautiful. Isn't she spectacular in that morning light? Now, she's not emaciated and hungry. You can see she's got a kind of tummy that's still fairly round. But we know with Thandi, because she's trying to feed Marips and herself, it requires a fair amount of food. So she's a pretty busy cat. She's often just hunts regularly through the day. And as we saw the other day, she managed to make 3 kills in the space of 12 hours, which, when you think about it, is pretty ridiculous. And of those kills, some of them were quite big kills. The kudu being one and the big male impala. Unfortunately, she lost both of those, but, it just goes to show that her hunting prowess is still very much in tune and very much effective. So even though she's not full, not empty, and could still probably sit and lounge about, she's still going to be active and search for food because, well, her little brat, Marips, eats like a machine these days. He's getting big, so it takes a lot to feed him. All right, let's just catch up with her because she's behind a bush at the moment. Just going to try and go around. With Thandi, it sounds like Ngala's also had some success and have found some cats of their own.
So finally, we've had a bit of luck this morning. And we got here just in time. It looks like these lot had quite a rough night. And it's that time of the morning where the heads start to dip. It's usually the period of the day where they know they've found the spot where they might settle down for a little while in the shade. You can see that one's even half asleep, but still got her nose up in the air. So there's something coming from that side, a scent of something, and I'm not sure what. It might be elephants. I saw a lot of elephant dung on the way in this side. You can see she's also enjoying that little bit of warm sun on the coat. And then what a great spot to be positioned on the bank. Some shrubs for shade. Even though they're quite out in the open, I do think that this is not an easy spot to see them. It's right on a very big bend within the river. Something's just drawn their attention. You can see, if you look at that young male, you can see the mane's quite dirty. It looks like it's almost a little bit bloody. And I'm thinking that is because he's had something to eat. Leon, to answer your question, do the manes for the white lions get darker as they get older? I'm sure it'll get slightly darker. I don't think it'll become as dark as a normal coloured male lion with the black mane later on in life. I think it'll just be dark patches, especially around the chest and the throat, maybe up on the flanks, eventually up on its head, but I don't think it'll be nearly as dark as a normal lion. It'll still be pale. I'll probably give almost like a rusty brown purplish color, almost like what we're seeing there now, in fact. And that's also a little bit stained by blood. But to get to that point, that's still a long way away. Quite a way away. Because he's still, at this point, these guys have been getting chased by their fathers. And that's why we're finding them spread out like this on their own with one or two of the lionesses. Now it looks like the two older lionesses are here. If you look, the smaller one on the right behind her, there's another lion laying down, and that is the oldest lioness within this group. And I can see quite a bit of scars on the rump, and I can see the chipped ears. Funnily enough, in this case, both of them, the young one and that old lioness. And I think she's also looks like her condition has been slightly deteriorating over the last couple of months. She is also an advanced age, which we're not even really sure what that might be. And I think these lions are a little bit hungry. They've probably been struggling to eat properly over the last couple of weeks with the change of the season. Also the fact that there's quite a few young males here. I can hear quite a lot of birds calling in the, looks like a buffalo thorn right behind it. I think that might make these lions move in a little while and find some proper positions in the shade there. In the meantime, we're going to go over to Steve, who's looking at some medicinal plants.
Thanks, Yapi. Enjoy the sunshine, and we're doing so as well. We've taken off all our layers. It's nice and warm here in the riverbed. Welcome to a medicinal segment where I've set up my Sangoma station here in the sands of Red Earth, should I say. And what we've got is we've got some bark from the tree. We've got some root, so root bark. I've chopped it a little bit more finely. We've got some leaves. I've got some root bark that I've chopped up as well. Some root powder as well. That's the fine stuff that comes off. And then the seeds over here. And the seeds I've dissected as well. You can actually see the seed there versus the seed pod. So a wonderfully diverse and magnificent plant that we're now going to delve into. Now, we've got some water boiling. Now, we make a very nice infusion out of the root bark and out of the leaves. So what I'm going to do, I'm just boil this water. It was boiling a moment ago. So infusion, everybody, is essentially just adding hot water to something, letting it seep just like as you would tea. So tea is a very nicely sort of matured seeping. And I'm going to take some of the leaves and I'm going to put them in my pot. Over there is some water in there already that boiled before. Let's just put a bit more water in. Get that nice and steeping. And just put that onto the side. Put the lid on. If you make a nice tea, always good to keep it nice and warm. And then I'm going to take the root bark itself. Whoopsie, don't fall over. And I'm just going to throw that root bark in there. Now I've harvested sustainably, everybody, off of the tree that you saw before. I haven't overutilized, just a little bit like an elephant would use. Stir that up a little bit. We're not making a decoction, just a steeping tea. So you're going to just put the lid back on there and switch it off. Okay, nice and quiet again. So the root bark itself as well, which I've got a little bit over here, can actually be smoked. Can smoke it, probably in a little pipe or something. Apparently it can be utilized, and many of the traditional uses I'm talking about be passed on from generation to generation. And this could be smoked and has been utilized for colds and for TB. So a little bit of root bark for curing the chest area. And then at the same time, this root powder that we have here, this very fine stuff, can be sniffed to assist with nosebleeds. If you happen to have contagious or problems with your nose, I've had my nose cauterized quite a few times in the past due to the veins in the top of my nose that just decide it's too hot and it's going to bleed. So that you could sniff. Shall we? Just a little. South Africa call that snuff. Quite a popular thing with some tobaccos to take it and sniff it up the nose. Goes right into the nasal passages. But hopefully my nose won't start bleeding. Okay, so the seeds themselves, as I said before, very well eaten. And these themselves you can make an ointment out of. Seed ointment for curing skin ailments, any contagious skin irritations, rashes that you might have. They've been used for treating scabies, as well as leprosy, which I think for the most part around the world has been eliminated, but obviously was quite a sort of common disease many years ago. So they're the seeds themselves, very nicely eaten, broken up, and the elephants and animals that eat them, birds, elephants, kudu, many animals, and generally this stays on the tree itself. If it falls on the floor, it gets normally attacked and invaded by weevils and the like. So these stay on the tree until they get eaten, and then it goes through the digestive system of that animal, and then those seeds in that form over there get distributed far and away. So zoochory, once again, animal distribution, or avichory if birds happen to eat it. And that's probably how those sicklebush seeds ended up where they were, all those plants, through some elephant dung or some animal's dung, and they germinated in the open area, because pioneers have the ability to grow in areas that are very unsuitable for many other plants, and then they change the environment from a nutrient point of view, moisture point of view, organic material point of view, and shade, and that allows other plants to grow. So very well adapted to growing in very harsh conditions. The bark itself, which is also quite interesting, the bark and the leaves and the roots can actually be chewed. So these things can actually be taken and eaten and chewed to assist with diarrhea, toothache, coughing, sore throat. So very useful. Quite tough. Not very tasty. There's really not too much in the way of flavor. But we all suffer from toothache, so taking one of these and just chewing down on it for quite some time apparently will help with sort of an antiseptic, sort of in that area, a bit of a numbing. You just got to have lots and lots of bits in your mouth. On very fresh stem bark, you can actually, this one's not the best one. It comes off in nice long strips and filaments, and you can make a decent fiber out of it. Probably with lots and lots and lots of small pieces, you could probably make a good rope, but I haven't been able to make that before in the past. I'm still working on my plaiting. Only recently really learned how to do it. But when you come back to us, our teas should be nicely stewed, nicely ready to go, and we'll delve into those properties later.
Every creature in nature has been blessed with a mother.
There we go, there we go, there we go, first on 4 legs. Oh my goodness.
For most African mammals, motherhood starts by giving birth, surrounded by danger.
Look, it's kicking, it's struggling, trying to get out. It's like, Mom, I want to be out. I don't want to be in here anymore. How incredible.
Babies need constant attention from their mothers as they explore the world around them.
As that little buffalo takes its very first steps in what can be a fairly cruel world out here for a young herbivore.
Accidents are bound to happen, but a mother's love and sympathy provides comfort.
Oh, careful, careful, careful. Oh, no. Oh, it's okay, little one.
Join Tristan and Lauren at the fire on Sunday the 9th of May to celebrate our wild mothers and the countless difficulties they overcome. The Endangered Wildlife Trust fights at the forefront of conservation, across the vast Karoo and sweeping grasslands, in remote pockets of forest, along road networks, across African skies, and in communities to conserve our wildlife and wild spaces. Help us to protect forever, together. Donate now at ewt.org.za.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially sabots and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that is truly, truly magical.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Well, as you can see, we're still following Thandi. She took a break for a while and was just lying beautifully out in this open road. She had it back to us, but it was just so nice. She just looked as though she was at peace and relaxed and calm. And then squirrels started shouting, and another vehicle that's joining us now arrived, and that was enough to trigger her to start. And now we go back into the thickets again. Thandi, could you not have sat still for just 5 minutes for everyone to look at you? Or are we going to play this game all day today? I can't even go off-road here. It's so thick in places. Let's try to follow her pathway. It seems like it's the best way. I don't know if she's just looking for a spot to lie down, or I don't know. She seems like she's a bit twitchy. Every time a car, if I start or that other car approaches, then she moves. Otherwise, if everyone stops, then she finds a little shady spot and she kind of lies down in it. But I think she's just looking for food more than anything else. She's just all over the place, like she can be. She's a busy cat, as we know. She likes to kind of scrounge around. I think she's going to come back onto the road. I'm just going to go back. See if we don't get her here on the road again. She seems like she's moving slowly kind of down towards this road section. Can't see her now. But I would imagine that will be the case. Yeah, there she comes. So she's going to come out onto the road. Isn't she beautiful, though? Hello, girl. I wonder, often when I see her, I wonder how many times she's had a camera click next to her, or a photograph of her has been taken. It must be
I mean, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of photographs have been taken of this cat. It's crazy when you think about it. I mean, I know personally, I think I have now with Thandi probably over 5,000 images of her, which is ridiculous, I know, and a lot of them are useless, but it's just that we see her quite regularly, so we take quite a few shots of her. Not as bad as Hosana. Hosana, I got a fright the other day when I counted how many photographs I have of him, and it was close to 15,000 photographs of Hosana. Not good. My hard drives don't enjoy me for that, I can assure you. But like I say, many of those photographs are not even usable. They're just memory photographs. They're not going to be used for anything. It just reminds me of him and times I spent with him, and that's important to me, so I'll never get rid of those photos. They'll always be a part of my experience. Susanna, to a degree, not quite as bad as what the males do. They don't become as nomadic as what the boys do. They tend to kind of still hang around similar areas, but they just don't have as much of a defined route. So, I mean, like with Thandi, this morning I was saying we'll find her here somewhere. We just got to go to the right place. And as soon as we got into the area where I thought we'd find, there was tracks already. So, she's got quite a set pattern, and she's quite busy in certain areas. So as soon as you start understanding that and start, then it's easier to find them. But as she becomes older, so those patterns are not going to be the same, because she doesn't have to scent mark anymore and be as territorial. So she just kind of wanders around, and like I said, they do become nomadic, but not quite like the boys. The boys become crazy nomadic in comparison to the girls. Hello, my girl. Hoping she's going to find a nice mound or little stump that she's going to lie on. She's so pretty. Even at 14, she's still beautiful. She's still got kind of quite a clean face. I mean, her ears are starting to show a little bit of sort of wear and tear, but for the most part, she is in immaculate condition for a leopard, and is showing no signs of slowing down. Her teeth, unfortunately, aren't great. She's got a broken tooth and quite worn lower canines. In fact, far more so than, let's say, Tingana, which is not ideal for her. It would be nice if her teeth were in a little bit better condition, but her body is still doing well, and her prowess as a huntress is still very much intact. So, I'm not too stressed about her as a leopard. You can see she's just walking here on my right. Just trying to get into a place where I can actually just stop and we can have her kind of walk through. Alright, here we go. We'll get a beautiful little walk by as she goes past in the morning light. So epic. Alright, well, while we follow her through this thicket and see what she gets up to, let's send you back across to Pinda.
Everyone, we've just found these two Nyala bulls. They're just behind this bush now. We're not going to move because we don't want to disturb them, but they have been clashing horns, and look how they're chasing each other around. Here we go, actually very close to us. I'm just going to keep my voice low. There's some impalas rutting in the background as well. Just give it a moment. These Nyalas have been fighting every now and then stopping, and then fighting again. I think they've given up. Let's have a look at these impalas here. Looks like two youngish rams. One older one, one young one. Here comes the Nyala back. Coming straight to the other one. And chasing him away. They've gone into the thickets now. Let me see if I can creep a little bit forward, just so we can see if we can get an open view of those impalas there. I'm gonna stop like this. It seems like they're still yawning and making a little bit of movements towards each other there. They're just starting now. Let me just try and get out of the way for you guys. Look at that. Okay. See, the one on the left-hand side has got horns that are bending backwards a little bit more, so a little bit older than the one on the right. Is it just me, or does the one with the smaller horns look like its body is a little bit higher than the one on the left? Look at the yawning happening. See, that's all some non-verbal communication there between them. See how they blowing up their little throats there as well. Oh, they've just spotted something. There's some baboons moving around here to the right. I wonder where they're off to now. They heard something and now they're on their way here. I wonder if there's some other impalas that have come into the area. Oh, maybe some females that are coming across or so. Some nyalas running in the distance. Candice, you're asking if impalas also form a lateral display when they fight. They do not do the same as nyalas. So nyalas will try and avoid actually locking horns. Sorry, I'm just turning around so we can get a view of those impalas again. The impalas they've got this fixed rutting season that we're in right now, so they'll be actually sparring a lot these days and trying to figure out who's the best of the best. But the nyalas, they do those lateral displays because they don't have a fixed breeding season and they don't really hold territories. The bulls do that lateral display to kind of figure out where the hierarchy lies between all of them. And I just saw an impala female just cross the road up ahead of us. So those rams definitely spotted the females. Here's a female right here in front of us. I'm just going to stop here. Let's just see what she does. Oh, here comes the ram. Here comes the ram. So the females actively go and look out and search for the rams as well, especially when they are in the estrus. That's the ram standing in the middle of the bush there. He might be keeping a lookout for the other rams as well. So he's keeping an eye on the female that's just off to the left. Not really doing anything at the moment. If this is the dominant ram, he'll try and keep all the other rams away from the harem while he tries to mate with all of them. But some younger rams and less dominant rams that haven't earned their spot as the king of the area will definitely try and mate with all the females on the periphery of the herd. Here we go. Yeah, this looks like the big ram. Listen to that noise there. Oh, this is the big ram, making sure this female stays away from the other rams. Listen to that noise that he's making there. But while we wait and see what these impalas get up to, we'll send you over again to Tristan where he's got that female leopard.
Well, we've just found Thandi now, going up the mound again. I'm trying to just see if I can get a nice view. She was sitting like right next to us for a bit and was being very, very pleasant to us. And then she just moved slightly round into the shade, which has allowed us not a great view of her just yet, but I was just wary of the other car. They've obviously trying to take photos and stuff, so I don't want to just be in their shot. But she's being busy this morning. Hello, my girl. There she goes behind the car and off to go and do her leopardy things. I think she's, like I say, just looking. So every time she goes up onto a mound, she's trying to figure out if there's something that is potentially around and that she can potentially hunt. But she hasn't found anything. All right, I'm going to try to keep up with her. It's going to get a bit thick and hairy soon. In the meantime, I'm going to send you over to Steve and his medicinal plants.
Well, good luck, Tristan. I hope you managed to stay with the queen of Djuma, Thandi. Well, here we go. We don't normally have the kettle on this long for an infusion, but we just lit it up for you for a little bit of dramatic effect. I'm going to switch it off now. So this is the bark, the root bark that was boiling. We're going to pour some out into my very nice cup. Let's see what the coloration looks like. I do have it's hot. I do have a syringe to be able to show you that coloration. So that's the root bark we spoke about before. And let's get a color variation. Those syringes come in quite handy for application purposes. So that's what basically infusions, decoctions do. They take the active ingredients out. You know, when you have a cup of hot water and you put your tea bag in, that is coloration. That is exactly the active ingredient that you're looking for in that product. I'm just going to put that one down. And now we're going to take the leaves. I don't think the leaves will have discolored much. Welcome to Wild Earth Cooking Show. And here we go. Another syringe. This one is a little bit stuck. You can see the difference in the coloration between the two. As we know, roots and bark have got lots more medicinal property to them than leaves generally do. And these plants adapted to fire, adapted to disturbance, take a lot of their minerals, nutrients, medicinal properties to the soil and to the bark. So that's why we get those. I'm just going to put a dribble of water in each because you all know you want me to drink it. I know that. It's become quite a thing. Just to cool it down. And while we wait for that to cool down, just to show you how harmless the sicklebush plant looks with all the leaves. It looks harmless, doesn't it? It looks like you could really walk into that. But once dismantled, it looks like something the police will pull across the road to stop a vehicle escaping. And that is exactly what a sicklebush does. Now, many people will confuse the sicklebush branch for a zebra wood. Now, you notice how the sicklebush stems kind of alternately move up in sort of a whorled sort of fashion. The zebra wood is very much like a ladder. It would be a perfect ladder all the way up. Something that if you had a small hamster or something you'd put in the cage as a little climbing ladder. So that's a very easy way to discern the difference when you just got the dead tree and the dead sort of stem versus the zebra wood. Both very, very hard and both very good for making implements. And talking about the implements, here is a stem that I got. And the wood is very good for firewood, very good for tool making, so axe handles, pick handles, and the like. And it is beautiful for burning, relatively hard wood, makes nice coals, but apparently it's also termite resistant. And on this tree itself, there's areas where the wood was exposed, the bark was removed, and there's no damage at all by termites. Termites would have eaten into this tree if the bark was removed and there was dead wood, because that's what they feed on. But being termite resistant has facilitated farmers in the past using these as fence posts out in the bush for obviously putting up fences and keeping livestock and the like in. Okay, now I'll put that down over there. Which one shall we try first? We try the lovely roots. Now, as we said, we can smoke it for colds and flu. Toothache, it's a local anesthetic. And what's quite nice to remember, everybody, with many of the plants we find out here that have got spines like this, that have the ability to penetrate your skin and hurt you, just like a snake or scorpion would be, many of these plants have the properties of healing snake bite and scorpion wounds. Obviously, if you get bitten by a snake or a scorpion, seek medical advice, but there are plants in the wilderness that are able to eliminate or alleviate some of those problems. Are we ready? Very nice. Gert, would you like to have a taste? Gert's going to have a little taste there. So, yeah, Gert's got not a bad face on him there. So this is quite useful for abdominal pain. There's one more very nice one, abdominal pain and respiratory complaints in the infusion. So obviously we've already dealt with the respiratory complaints via the root bark by inhaling it, possibly smoking it, going up the nose, but also by drinking it can assist with that as well. So very, very nice. But if you do suffer from chronic body ailments and illnesses, please don't go and say, Steve, the doctor said, go and take all these ailments to sort yourself out. Rather seek medical advice. And if you're on prescription, stay with that. So with the leaves, we've got the infusion over here. And the infusion can be made for eardrops. So if you have any earache, you can use that in the ears. It can also be used for skin wash and can actually be applied directly to the snake bite as well. So the plant in general, very good for wounds, skin disease, and apparently somehow in the past, part of the plant has been used for contraception. You heard it here. Let's have a sip. That is actually very pleasant. So a little bit of honey, and I think we're good to go. But we're going to sit here and sip on our tea a little bit longer while we send you over to Ingala with their white lions.
And over here we don't have too much of a change except the view. But what a good way to kind of give you an idea of what exactly we are dealing with here. So you can see there is still some interest in the surrounding areas, and there's a lot of looking around, picking up their heads to sniff. Sniff the air. Because we are on the bank of the river, the wind keeps changing constantly at this point. There's also a lot of good areas for prey animals to be moving in, including lots of impala, wildebeest, even saw some nyala earlier. And I think that's why we got them picking up their heads every now and again. They're just making sure whenever they hear a bird moving or a faint hint of something coming from the clearings down this way, they're looking in that direction. And also they're at that age now. These lions are a little bit older than 2.5 years, some of them. And at this stage, they've already been taught a little bit how to hunt. Nicanova, in total, to be honest, I think I might have actually lost count with this pride's numbers because it is so many. But over here, we're only looking at 6 of the young ones, the sub-adults, and then from what I can see, 1 lioness at this stage. I thought I saw another lioness earlier, but I might have been mistaken. But in total, this pride there should be 8 sub-adults, plus their mothers would be 12. And then another 2, of which the one female has 2, so that's 16 already. 18 plus the males. And then another 2 lionesses, 20 plus 5 new youngsters. So 25 at least. Maybe I missed 1 or 2. We haven't been seeing them all together for a long time. They've actually been splitting up like that, and that's because of this male and his brothers. If I got the name correct, Gaz, would infant males hunt with the females as they grow up? Yes, they certainly do. I think there's a little bit more enthusiasm to learn from the females within this group of sub-adults, but I think these males have definitely at least been trying to pull their weight. And they've been watching the females very closely for a long time now, so at this stage they also actively participate within the hunt. So if there's prey that, when it comes to the actual takedown process, they are quite involved. As far as the strategy part goes, I think that's still mostly up to the larger females, and they kind of just watch and try their luck with trial and error. Which with lions is very much a big part of the learning process. You can see there's a lot of bird watching going on here this morning. I've often had a look at lions looking at the birds flying over, especially the larger birds, the birds of prey, the vultures. And they watch them very carefully. For young males like these 3, in a few months' time they might have to move on their own. And then the only age they'll have to find food will often be something like vultures. But while we sit here a little while longer, see if something does come along and change the situation, we'll head over to Lauren.
All the hippos at Chitwa were out the water. It's really quite something, seeing multiple... Oh, Darby, look at that incoming heron. Nicely done. It's quite something seeing all the hippos out the water, but sadly, they've just gone back in again. I think let's go forward a bit. There's a tiny, with this mom, there's a tiny little youngster who's gone under, but they can't hold their breath for that long, so it will pop back up again. There's something quite cute about a baby hippo. Oh! I mean, look at the size difference. Now, the baby won't always be able to reach the bottom of the dam. The dam's not too deep. But of course, the youngsters are very, very small. So that's when they do jump on mum's back And mom always helps them make sure that they're not struggling. Yes, they can hold their breath, but not for as long as mom can. The lungs are not trained. We can even train our own lungs. We can even teach ourselves lots of breathing techniques to stay underwater for longer. It's not easy, but we can. It's the same with the hippo. They need to get used to holding their breaths, expanding their lungs, breathing in a different way, and then they can stay underwater longer and longer. Wow, look at the hairs on the ears. Hairy ears. Beautiful. The water's so still and the sun is just reaching that delicious height in the sky. Anna Marie, you're saying they look so peaceful and content. I agree. I would be too. In the water, it's calm, no currents. No awful wind, no rain, it's sunny. Oh, there's a youngster again, Davy, I think. I think so. And under we go. Oh, the croc's out. Took me a while to see that. I'm going to go forward. There's lots of thick knees here as well. We're at Chitwa. It really is the best water body. Of course the croc is out. Oh, and another hippo. This just gets better. How is that, Dobby? Got the two of them. Look at that. Cohabiting the same space, but not friends. Also not enemies. Wowza. Would you look at that prehistoric being? Look at the teeth. That's really quite a fantastic view of this crocodile. We don't always get to see them, of course. I just think they're fantastic animals. Strong, powerful, scary, yes. Martin, always if they can. I mean, we do have two crocodiles here that we call Vlad and Boris, and they're always here. So really, they need water. They survive in water because they're reptiles. They can't really travel too far. They don't make migrations. As I always mention, low environmental temperatures sort of depress the metabolic rates of reptiles. It means they can't really get energy in those cold temperatures. So it's not worth traveling too far. Yes, they can move. They've got really sharp claws, as you can see, which gives them traction on land, even for their heavy bodies. So they can. I think Tristan had crocodile tracks yesterday. Was that right, Davi? So they will move, but not if they don't have to. And Chitwa Dam is big enough for these crocodiles, and really they'll just be here all the time. But May is actually quite an interesting month for crocodiles because the breeding is, let's just say, rather elaborate. And in May, the males actually begin to establish dominance. And it's a really easy hierarchy. The larger the croc, the older the croc, the more dominant the croc. It's quite simple. And this is when mating takes place. Now, normally in June, July, that's when the females start to dig little pits in the mud bank around the water. And that's when they get ready for laying their eggs, and she will deposit about 50 eggs, and she'll cover them up with the mud, and they'll incubate underneath the surface for about 3 months. So it's a really interesting time for the crocodiles right now. And our babies normally arrive in December. And whether they're boy or girl will be determined by temperature, which is just fascinating. So I think we're going to spend more time at this gorgeous water body and see what else we can find.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a Wild Earth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature. For many years, Wild Earth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Well, you can see Tandy is posing beautifully on a fallen over stump. She's just got her paws firmly planted and is just looking around and checking just to see what's happening in this general vicinity. So far, she hasn't come across much. We've walked quite far now from where we last had you guys. And she's just steadily kind of moving. She zigzags a bit, but the general direction is more to the south. And that's the last place we saw Marips, is to the south of us. And while she's kind of hunting now, maybe she's just wanting to catch up with him at some point. There's a beautiful mound that's coming up. I'm pretty sure she's going to head to that mound, which is why I was kind of heading in this direction. She was actually walking complete opposite way just now. But kind of turned because there's a shady mound, and it's almost like she's looking for a mound or point of interest where she can sit and be in some shade, because she keeps stopping in the shade, but it's so low in the grass that she seems unconvinced by all of it. And then she kind of moves on and finds somewhere else, and then she goes up on these mounds, and she looks like she wants to sit on the mounds, but then as soon as she gets to the mounds, they're not shady enough, and then she moves off. So this mound I'm talking about is just to her left. I'm sorry, Michael, did you get a fright there? You would think after an hour and a half or more, almost 2 hours of us following her, she would be used to the startup of the car, and also after 14 years, but for some reason she got a little fright there. Sorry. I need to give you a fright. Movement this morning has been interesting. intrigued by how she's gone, but she hasn't walked on roads at all. She's only where we found that track where she went into the block, and then when she came out the next one and then went into the next block, and then we found her. Those are the only sections of road she's walked. Otherwise, everything has just been across the roads. I mean, she walks on the fire break, but the fire break is so grassy, you would never know. So it would have been a nightmare to find her. If we hadn't found her when we did, I don't think we would have found her. She's just through here. There's a nice little gap, I think. Yeah, she's just in there. See how she's just using these stumps just to give herself a slight bit of elevation, but not attract too much attention to herself. So she just gets up, and then she can look, and then she comes down again. So 50, she really is pretty. I mean, obviously I'm very biased to Thandi. She's by far my favorite of the female leopards that we see in this section. But, you know, she is a very, very pretty cat, and she's produced beautiful cubs. You know, all of her cubs have got very, very, very unique sort of looks about them, and very pretty. Oh, you're going to have a little head wrap. Okay. A little spray. So when you're tracking and you're walking through things like this, what you're looking for is that. So you'll walk up to that stump and you'll see if there's any little droplets of urine on them, and that will help you in your ability to find a cat in places like this, because you're not going to see too many footprints in all of this. So you'll look for little urine signs, bent over grass, and any places where she scrapes her feet when she scent marks. Alright, so you see she's just crossed straight over. Her general direction still heading kind of southwards. Now talking about southwards, just to the south of us is Chitwa, and it sounds like Lauren is at Chitwa Dam.
We've got a challenge for you all. I want you to tell me what the common theme is here. Davi's chopped a bird's head off, but there you go. We have a heron, and then our next one, we have a hammerkop, who's very, very busy, and then Davi, next one, we have a hippo, and then lastly, oh no, we have 2 hippos, my bad. We have another heron. What's the theme, everyone? I'm only joking, there's not really a theme, but there's a lot of H's there. Heron, hippo, hammerkop, heron. That's a lot of H. What we do have for you is a bird, and I am not sure this one is on my bird list, so I'm going to ask for all you keen birders' help. We have 2 birds. Apologies. And I'm pretty convinced I've never done this one before. You can see they've got a red bill, a dark sort of upper head, if you like, or crown, should I say, and then a very, very white chest and lower part of the face. And I think we're looking at the red-billed teal. And if it is, it's a new one for me. But anyone that can confirm that, please do let me know. But I think these birds are the red-billed teals. I'm waiting. I've got my app open and I'm just ready to tick that tick. Such a good feeling to add a new bird onto your list. Ooh, what is that one, Davi? Too much is happening here. Wowza, maybe I am a little biased, but that was incredible camera work. I don't know what bird that was. Help me, everyone. #WildEarth @FC. I think these are the red-billed teals. And the birds that you can hear are the buffalo beavers. Now, if it is the red-billed teals, they're monogamous, so most likely this is a male and female pair. They're very, very similar in sexes, but the male is slightly larger. Woohoo, James Richard, thank you so much. I'm actually going to just tick this right now. Red-billed teal tick. It is extremely satisfying. Are you happy you saw a new bird, Dove?
Stoked.
They're not necessarily uncommon. In fact, they're very common. It's just the first time that I have sort of stopped and spent time with them. And of course, they're in the duck groupings of birds. They eat grass, soft, palatable, delicious grass, and aquatic seeds and fruits. So of course, being near the water is the most perfect place. They also nest on dry ground really, really close to water. So you will find them around water bodies. Darcy, yes, it's a new bird for you too. Excellent. I don't know how you're keeping your list, whether you're writing them down or you're typing or you're ticking, but get it on that list. It's a stunning, stunning bird. And they're said to be the only bird in the entire region that has sort of a bright pink bill like this and a very, very dark crown. So they really are particularly easy to identify. That bill is very, very pink. I mean, it's called the red-billed teal, but it looks very bright pink to me. Sometimes coming down to Chitwa Dam and just stopping, listening, watching, you'd be surprised at what you see. It may not be the big predators that you find, but all these small, wonderful things is what you can actually spot down here, since it's such a huge, productive water body. Oh, many of you are loving the sounds. So I'm going to leave Darby to do his magic of the dam and actually sit here for a moment and let you all enjoy the sounds. Okay, this was just perfect. I'm going to sit here a little bit longer. I'm going to send you guys across to Tristan.
Oh, well, Lawrence is there. We're sitting really with the Queen, who's now starting to just slow down a little bit, finally. I mean, we've travelled a serious distance today, and she's been busy the whole time. It's been very, very interesting to kind of follow her and figure out her sort of movements through these blocks and just watch how she goes about things. It's no wonder she is kind of as savvy as she is and why she's so successful. You can kind of just see the processes that she goes through and all the experience that she has. She knows exactly when to stop, exactly when to look. She knows exactly when it's time to rest and just take a bit of a break. She knows when and where to utilize high ground. She's it's pretty amazing with that kind of stuff. So it's been an absolute treat this morning following her. And it looks like she's just slowed down because, well, it's gotten a bit warmer now. And so when it gets warm like this, sorry guys, I'm making a bit of a noise, but I wanted to show you on the map where she's moved today. When it gets warmer like this, then often they just want to have a bit of a rest and take it easy. Now, in saying all of that, where she is heading is slowly towards Chitwa, and it is the last place that we saw Marips, but I wanted to just quickly show you on the map where she's gone this morning. It's because it's an interesting walk that she's taken. It's made no sense from a directional perspective. So we picked up her track at first, right here at Central Road, and then she came along up Central Road and then to this junction. From this junction, she kind of went up through the block, back onto the road here, and then at that junction she cut into this small little block here. Then we picked up her track coming out there. She went down like this and into this little block here. She then went all the way along like this to the fire break, down along this fire break road, back into the bush here, then cut over this, through here into the center basically of this, then turned and went back, and we're currently sitting right here where my finger is now. Where her son was last seen was over here, close to Woodlands Road, Mulawanini area. So you can see that from there to there is not that far, but it's a very odd route because she's kind of zigzagged her way, and what she's done is she's utilized every single block. So she used that block, that block, that block, that block, all looking for food as she goes, and then from eventually kind of settling down over here now. And I wouldn't be surprised if this afternoon we pick up her tracks either on this detour road, the cut line, and heading down maybe towards this area, Mulawanini, if her son is here. She might have moved her son up back towards First Rock side, but the dogs were there yesterday. They ran down like this and into in Koroi now on Cheatham Plains, but she might have taken her son back there, or he's still hanging around the Mulawanini Gari main area, in which case maybe she wants to just go pick him up and bring him back up into this area. This is the area she likes to leave him, and from here he explores all over the place around this section. But at the moment, if you want to find Tundi, pretty much this is the loop that you do. Pipe Road, you come down, you do First Rock, and then you just cut all of these roads and basically just drive them in loops, and eventually you pick up her track. She's very seldom going east of this. Every now and then she gets seen up towards sort of Second Rock Rhino Cutline area. Obviously we know she goes into Chitwa, and every now and then she heads into Djuma and kind of goes towards sort of Drakensberg, this section. But mostly her concentration of space at the moment is around there. So around Torchwood Camp, Leadwood Dam, First Rock. That's really the core of Tundi's area, and 90% of the time where you find her tracks. Interestingly enough, with Kalamba, a lot of you have been seeing that we've been saying she's been walking a lot. Now, Kalamba's kind of core of her territory is normally around the camps, but of late, in the last few days, just to give you an idea, this is Kalamba's routes that she's been taking. We'll start up here. So she's walking from here. She tends to come along like this. She's going along here, taking all of this down like this, here, down, along here to the dam. Then from there she's cutting through these blocks like this, down towards Gari Main, along like this past Tundams, towards Weaver's Nest, into the block here, Treehouse Dam, from here, the western side of Quarantine. Then she goes up Aubrey's Road, from here, cuts through the block, up like this and back. So that is the entire loop. Now, if you look at the size of that, I'll put my hand in comparison. It's my entire hand that she's basically walking. If we look at Tundi's little area that I've just pointed out, it's just that little section there. So it goes to show you how concentrated female leopards become when they have cubs, and that's why we think that Kalamba has potentially lost that cub, not only physically, but her behavior, that she's walking this much of a route at the moment, almost every day she's covering this distance, gives us an idea that maybe something is up. When you see it like that, and you can visualize just the amount of space that she's moving and occupying comparative to a female that we know still has her cub, it gives you a very clear picture of just how much walking poor little Kalamba is doing at the moment. But there we go. Hopefully that's helped kind of show you guys a little bit of what's going on at the moment with our two girls and how they're kind of moving along. Carmen knows, so this map is not available online. This is a map that is only done for landowners and for staff. Why it's not online, I have no answer for that right now. I think that there's probably a component that the guys just don't want maps out there for everybody to see and to utilize with road names and water points and everything like that. Obviously, there's nefarious people out there that can plot and map exactly where to go and look and do things, so that's why that map is not available online. Just hold on, guys, I just need to answer this. Yeah, go ahead, Bennett. Sorry.
We just gone past Torchwood Access South, and then immediately left, and looks like it's very close to that, and we go east, is that right?
I'd just rather come down Cheetah Cut line. You need to come further south. We're already past that whole block. So you need to come towards Detour Road junction with Pipeline. She's static here. We're not too far off the road. Everybody seems to want to talk to me, Lauren, as well. Go ahead, Lauren.
Just another relationship,
Yeah, thank you. So we're just going to try and get a vehicle into the sighting. Hopefully they'll be able to find out. I also just want to reposition while we're doing all of this, because she's repositioned and she's fairly relaxed now. So I just want to try and just turn.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry, how far from where I saw you? I'll take that little track and 100 meters after I saw you. No, I think the
Sorry,
carry
Tandy.
one down and great.
Big stump here. All right, so while we just try and get ourselves all sorted here, to Tandy, let's send you across to Yapi with his white lions.
Talking about a better position, just look at that young male lion there on the left-hand side. He's definitely got himself into a better position. He's been lifting his paw, letting that little breeze come through, maybe aiding him to cool down in the sun. And also it might just be slightly more comfortable. So they all look fairly comfortable. These two lions are almost breathing in sync, but with the one's belly's rising, the other one's going down. And that, I don't see the tails flick, I don't see the ears flick. I think these guys might be fast asleep at the moment. And I think this is probably what might happen for, or what might be the case for the rest of this day. And I don't think there's going to be too much action. However, where they're laying, which is tricky to see, so they're right on the edge of what looks like some red spike thorn as well as a buffalo thorn shrub. It's not a very tall one. One of the reasons why it looks that way is because the trees in this area often get fed on by elephants. The elephants do have quite a big impact on especially trees like the buffalo thorn in these parts. Well sought after. And where these lions are laying is literally right on the junction of all the major game paths along this side of the riverbank. There we go, a little bit of a better idea. You can see all the footprints to the right of them in the sand, and then some elephant dung in the riverbed as well. It's quite a gradual slope all the way down here. And that means that there's a lot of elephant traffic here. You can see one of the young lionesses is now getting a little bit irritated there. Maybe she's thinking of moving into the shade or into a more comfortable shady spot. Or maybe it's just the flies. It's definitely moved closer to the edge of the shrub for the shade. But I think that is about it for them for now, is these small little local movements to aid their comfort. So while they trying to figure out where they want to lay, we're going to head over to Lauren.
Is that when I'm on this road, I can see the chick. And it's always standing up and doing things and stretching its wings. And then when we try to get a little bit closer, it gets a little bit startled from the car now. And then it ducks back down. And of course we want to see it. So it is a long distance view. But there you go, there's little chickadee. You know, brave without mom. Mom was here this nest. She's gone back to roosting on that big dead leadwood that we always see the battle ears on. That is such a ridiculously fluffy head. Oh, see, we get really brave. But as soon as I turn on my engine, we go back down. Okay. For my cute little chickadee, I believe Pinda, I've got an interesting bird for you all.
Have a look at that trumpeter hornbill that's at the top of that fig tree there. What a beautiful, beautiful bird. We are quite a distance away from him. Have a look at how thick-set and big that bill is, with the white belly. Oh my God, it just went down into the fig tree there and just disappeared, maybe going to feed on some of the figs and so growing on the tree there. There's some white-breasted cormorants that just flew through the screen there as well. How incredible was that? My goodness. And we're just going to swing around, and now we are here by this watering hole. I'm so glad we got a view of that trumpet hornbill, even though it was brief. How beautiful is this watering hole here? Been filled up completely just by rain that we've got here in the northeastern corner of South Africa. Here on Pinda, we in KwaZulu-Natal, the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and our rainfall here is way, way higher than it is in other areas. We are quite far north and close to the Indian Ocean, so lots of water that have filled up our watering holes. A lot of rain. A very, very wind-still day. Not a lot of wind moving around. But I think we are gonna see if we can stick around for a little bit more and just see if there is maybe something else that comes down to the water.
Well, that's not.
Every creature in nature has been blessed with a mother.
There we go, there we go, there we go, first on 4 legs. Oh my goodness.
For most African mammals, motherhood starts by giving birth, surrounded by danger.
this. Look, it's kicking, it's struggling, trying to get out. It's like, Mom, I want to be out. I don't want to be in here anymore. How incredible.
Babies need constant attention from their mothers as they explore the world around them.
As that little buffalo takes its very first steps in what can be a fairly cruel world out here for a young herbivore.
Accidents are bound to happen, but a mother's love and sympathy provides comfort.
Oh, careful, careful, careful. Oh, no. Oh, it's okay, little one.
Join Tristan and Lauren at the fire on Sunday the 9th of May to celebrate our wild mothers and the countless difficulties they overcome.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at and beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through and beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
So now these lions have really gone into the next level of rest. Unlike the green wood hoopus that I can hear go crazy on the opposite side of the river. In fact, that lioness, she's been drawn by that noise. Looks like a really, really large flock on the opposite side. And often I found with lions, like later in the morning, when they need to move into the shade, like it's just something other than what piques their immediate interest that prompts them to do so. Like whether it be bothered by flies or the noise of birds sometimes. I'm very glad to hear that everybody liked spending the morning with the white lions. Certainly a treat for myself as well. I haven't actually been able to spend a lot of time with them lately. They've been moving up and down all over different reserves. So how nice of them to grace us with their presence again. Just to see how they're doing and where they are in life. And they're acting like they've never left before. But with lions, leopards, hyenas this morning, I think we've had a really, really good morning. And thanks for all our viewers for joining us. And I hope you can join us again this afternoon.